Hello, all viewers. Welcome to the 70th Khelo Chess India team battle. And sorry, we are starting about 10 minutes, 20 minutes late today. We just finished covering the World Chess Team battle. We had a 2600 GM, and I am playing there. So you can just go
Hello, all
back to the channel.
viewers. Welcome to the 70th Khelo Chess
Just a
India
minute,
team battle.
guys. You can just go back to the videos list and check the video. We have covered very nice games between very high rated players, and we have also covered a few games from Khelo Chess India. Let's check who are playing for Khelo Chess India today. My Shakti is playing from Khelo Chess India. Let's try to check his game. So we have a game between My Shakti and Arabpati. My Shakti is playing in the Berserk mode, just 13 minutes into the game. Let's check what's happened in the game. D4, C5. This is called as the Benoni defense. Pawn to D5, pawn to D6, pawn to C4, and pawn to E5. You can here play pawn to B5 and try to play the Benko Gambit, which is one of the favorite and favorite of many GMs actually. Pawn to E5, knight to C3, bishop to F5, pawn to E4, bishop to D7. So this is not a good move because this bishop on D7 is probably controlling both the sides, but it's eating away the square for your knight. Probably knight a6 and knight c7, pawn to b5, pawn to b5, and then a5 can be played. But let's see what happened in the game. So pawn to f4, pawn to f6, knight to f3, pawn to g6, pawn to h4, pawn to h5. So it's all about pawns. Pawns have been pushed, and pushed from black side. Will black have to pay the price for this? Pawn takes, queen takes, knight to c5, and bishop to e3, bishop to f3, bishop takes knight. So it was a nice trap here if you just look at this position, guys. And if white gets tempted here to capture the bishop on f3, then black has this beautiful fork on d3, forking the queen and the king out there. So it's difficult for white. So pawn takes, and now queen check, and pawn to b5, pawn takes, and now I think bishop can be saved. So bishop takes a1 was played, pawn takes pawn check, king moves to f8, and pawn takes e5. This is a live position, guys. Let me quickly share the link in pawn takes, and queen to c6. Still, this is an open game, but probably black might be able to hold this away because of the extra pieces. This a1 rook, and white is under immense time pressure. Look at the just 26 seconds remaining now. So it's difficult to play. Yeah, bishop e3 again, a nice move. Queen g6, lot of pawns to be given away for free. If this rook is able to come into the game via probably b1 and b7, then there will be a lot of threats here. On g7, f7, knight e7 will probably block the rook. So it would be interesting to see how black plays now. So quick exchange, and now I think this should be easy for uh, black to win. Yep, let's just see few moves and then we can go back to the tournament and check the next games. Yep, that's pretty much winning for black now. Okay, knight e6 check is now available. So rook f6, knight f6. I think rook takes f6 will be played. He takes f6, and yes, that should be fine now. Bishop c4, and probably knight to e3. Bishop e4 was free, and I think yeah, let's go back to the tournament and try to find the next game here. So okay, no comments and no. Let's check the if we have any kind of comments there. No. So there are, so right now there are no request and no request for the analysis. Let's try to pick up the next game. Let's try to pick up a game from this. Narendra Mutliar is playing. Narendra is also a very good friend of ours. He's playing against Andre. Andre is playing from Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy. He is from from the Philippines team, and Narendra is from the Chess Blasters. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5, E6. This is the Raul Lopez variation of when we play E4, E5. Raul Lopez opening and Knight F6, pawn to D3, pawn to B5, Bishop to B3, and Bishop to E7, pawn to C3, castles, and Bishop G5. Pawn h6, bishop h4, bishop b7, castles, knight to h5, and now bishop to g3, knight takes g3, pawn takes g3, and bishop to f6. So white is left with good pieces over here. This bishop was also a good piece, but I think d5 was something here black was trying to focus on knight e7 and d5 probably. Knight e7 and d5 just to challenge the center, and hence he had to support the e5 pawn first. Hence bishop f6 first and then knight d7, e7 and d5. So let's see what happened in the game. Yeah, knight e7 was played, knight h2 and knight g6. I think d5 was a nice move here actually. Could have black could have got his open d file to attack, but knight g6 was played and queen g4. This g6 knight is hanging. Pawn to d5 and knight d2, pawn to c5, pawn takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and now knight to e4. So d3 pawn was offered here, but black would have to pay price of getting this pawn double on the f2 and f3. With this h6 will be a weak pawn. This knight has to come back into the game. So now bishop e7 was played. After bishop e7 we have rook to d1 and queen to a2, and now I think black will just start capturing the pawns as many as he can. So knight takes c5 and bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. So this is a nice passer for black now, this a pawn. So that probably will help black to win quickly. So there was this threat now, knight g5 check, and then queen takes g6. So to save that, queen e7 was played so that this check is not available. Queen to f6, and we have knight to h4. I think knight takes h4, pawn takes h4 will be played, and now pawn g6 I think is a decent move. Just shutting down all the options of this queen out there. Queen can just come back then. This is a live position, guys, and yes, the a pawn is now making a lot of noise out there, just trying to get his pawn on the a3, a2, and getting it to the queening square very soon. So I think this is in completely in favor of black now. So the a2 rook was hanging here, so rook e2 was played. Now probably rook d2 is playable. Yeah, rook d2 was played. This d4 pawn has to be captured. a3, e2 is also available. These connected pawns are better as compared to the isolated pawn always. In the rook ending, remember, connected pawns hold a higher value, a better value versus the isolated pawn out there. So let's go back to tournament, guys, and this is an unstoppable queen. Once the pawns reach on the sixth rank, the pawns are unstoppable. Let's go back to a tournament, try to find out the new game. We have Arun Som playing from Abhichess Club. Let's try to find out his game with Kagwa Master. Kagwa Master and this player, Kagwa Master is an old player actually, so we know his game. So d4, knight f6, bishop f4, d5, knight f3, pawn c6, knight d2, knight d7, pawn to e3, pawn to e6. This is a London system again, guys. Bishop e7, yeah, London system game. Queen e2 and rook to e8, pawn to e4. So this probably is in favor of black. This e4 exchange, actually, I think black will be happy to get this because of pawn takes, and then knight takes. Bishop takes probably, and then knight can come to f6, attack the bishop again. So bishop goes back, and then it's black to play. So e4, d takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop, queen takes e4, knight f6, queen goes back, and it's black to play. So black gets a tempo, as well as he was able to exchange off the pieces in the center. And now pawn to c5, right time and right moment to attack white center out there. So pawn takes and bishop takes and long castles. An adventurous move by black here. Look at this, c file is open. Right now we have this threat of bishop takes at 7. So black plays queen a5, king to b1, and queen to b6. So I think here black was afraid of this b5 move, but that's okay actually. This b4 move, that's okay. You can handle this move by playing. If b4 comes, then you can play queen b6, and you can the pawn is pinned, so this bishop cannot be captured, and then you can play pawn to e5. So queen b6 was played, pawn to h5, knight to d5, bishop takes h7, king takes h7, knight to g5 check, king g8, and then queen to c2, trying to attack the h7 square. So knight f6 was available here. Also, this knight f4 is available. So black went for the adventurous knight takes f4, queen h7 check was allowed, king to f8, queen to h8, king to e7, and queen takes g7. Then we have rook to f1 and pawn to g3, knight to c3, knight to d5. The idea was just to put some pressure on this pawn, probably provoking this b3 by playing bishop a3, and then this c3 will be a weak pawn which can be attacked. So rook takes d5 was played, pawn takes d5, and rook to e1 check. King moves, and we have knight f7, king to c6, and this king somehow has managed to just sneak out of the attack and get it exchange, not exchange, but just to be on the safer side on the queen side. So we have a queen to c7 and queen to c6, pawn to a5, a4, queen, king takes a4, pawn to b3, king takes b3, knight to c5, check, and we have now king to c4, queen takes c6, pawn takes c6, and black is a piece up, a rook up. So nothing to worry there for black, and here white resigned. So nice game coming to a good end. Let's try to go back and try to find the next game out there for you guys. So we have next game between, we can just try to figure out who all are playing right now. Yeah, we have Ganesh playing here from Chennai Chess Club. Then we have, let's try to pick up the next page. Okay, let's try to see what Satya is playing. Okay, Satya is from Chess Blasters. So he's playing against King Nilesh. Let's put their game on the screen. This is the position, guys. And seems equal, but white has this e5 break out there. So black has to be careful now. The queen exchange, I think, is going to slightly help white out there because these pawns are disconnected now. These pawns, they're not supporting each other. So probably after some time, they're going to be vulnerable. Rook d7, and now e7 is gone. So quickly now, this knight has to go to c6 and d4. King can come back to g7 now. Okay, so e5 is something that he's targeting right now. Black is targeting king f8 probably. If rook takes, then you can play knight to, yeah, then rook takes g5 is also possible. So nice move by white here, just trying to get as many pawns as possible. I can see a comment from Saksham. Hi Saksham, hope you're doing well. We were wondering, Saksham, where is your team again? So this game is almost towards done, but this king and knights are in a nice place now. Both this king on g4 and knight here, which can create some tactics, but I think white should win this one. Pawn to e4 now, and pawn to e5, and there's just three moves to queen, guys. So will black be able to stop this one? I think we have this rook to c5 move here. Rook to c5, and then rook to d7 had to be played to support this. Oh, free the rook, free knight, free knight. Knight was free there, and now I think white will win very easily after the black is knight down. So let's go back to tournament and try to find the next game. Could there be a tactic? This bishop has to stay in the diagonal. Rook will again attack the bishop. Oh, okay, rook takes a7 was played, e2 was played, and I think yeah, this should be winning for black white now. So let's go back to tournament, try to find the next game. We had a request from Mayank to check his game. Let's try to find MPH game, MPHS, and let's try to find this game. He just played one game against is the Fish. Saksham, are you able to hear the voice now? I think the voice should be audible. Let's try to find MPH game. Okay, so in this game we have d4 played by MPH, that is Mayank, knight f6, c4, d6, knight c3, c6, e4, g6, f3, bishop g7, bishop e3, castles, queen d2, knight d7, knight e2, and e5, castles. So this is a Samish variation against King's Indian where you play f3 move instead of knight f3, knight is taken to e2, pawn is pushed to f3, and then the center is being established. Then try to play g4 and h4 and try to get an attack on the black's king side. At the same time, white goes for the queen side attack either by this move, or black has the option of playing a6 and b5 and then b4, try to attack on the queen side. So e takes d4 was played here, knight takes d4 and queen to c7. Pawn to g4, knight to e5. Now the c4 and f3 pawns are attacked. So bishop e2 was played to support the f3 pawn. Although it was defended by this d4, but it can be kicked away by the c5 move, knight b5. Queen can move, and probably sometime this f3 might fall weak. So bishop e2 is not a bad move, but it is not the best move, I feel. h4 can be the best move here. But rook to d8 now. Pawn to h4, pawn to c5, knight to b5, queen to e7. Pawn to h5, pawn to a6, knight to a3, and now this knight I think will be in a bit of bother actually because of b5 is coming very soon. b5, if we play c takes b5, a takes b5, knight takes b5, it should be playable because d6 then will be under tremendous pressure. Uh, it might be playable. We need to check that one. We need to check, analyze that position. So knight to c2, pawn takes c4, and pawn takes g6, pawn takes g6, and bishop to h6, pawn to a5, and bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and we have pawn to g5, knight to h5, queen to d5 check, and then there is this rook hanging on a8. So we have queen f7, queen takes a8, knight takes f3, knight takes f3. I think queen f4 check is going to be a deadly one because this knight is going to control the d2 check, d2 square. So white has to be careful here actually. So rook hf1, queen f4 check, king to g b1, and knight d2 check. The rook on f1 is now hanging. Rook takes d2, queen takes d2, and now bishop takes h5, g takes h5, and knight to d5. So knight f6 check is again coming very strong. So we have queen takes g5. Was knight e3 required here? Was knight e3 required here? That's the question because here we have knight f6 move available, and we have queen e7 move available. So knight f6, queen d5 can be also playable. Knight f6 and queen d5. Then there are a lot of moves which are available here. But knight e3 was played, and I think that might give some time for black to again get some time and try to get a queen on h2. So this is actually, I think, a lot of moves were wasted here. Yeah, white has wasted all the moves here, and now the mating threat is okay. F1 rook was hanging here, so knight G1 or G8 was the blunder. So just keeping back few moves, this knight move, knight maneuver from E3. This I think has lost a lot of time. This is something that shouldn't have been played actually. This was the position. So knight d5 is fine. I'm happy with knight d5, but then queen takes g5, and then we have knight e3. So instead of this move, knight e3, we should have found some other move here. Probably we can play a move like queen to a7. So knight f6 becomes a deadly move here because knight f6 can threaten mate on h7 with the queen. So queen h7, a7, I think was playable here. Queen a7 move. Queen e7 probably rook d7 is playable. Then we can go queen to b6, b8, attacking this c8 square as well as the d6 square. Yeah, I think something else should have been played instead of this knight e3 move. That just lost a lot of time. Or even queen takes a5 and bringing queen back to e1, threatening this rook to g1 was a good idea. Instead of keeping the queen passive on a8, we could just capture this pawn and bring the queen back to the e1 square. So yeah, that was some plans. So you have to analyze your games, guys. Unless you analyze your games, you won't be able to find the mistakes, and then probably you won't be able to improve every time when you play. So still 19 minutes for the tournament. We have the next game coming up for you. Let's try to pick up a game between. Let's try to find who all are playing from Khelo Chess India. It's at the bottom today. So not many players are out there. Shyam Pro Beast Boy, and okay. Let's try to pick up someone from the new teams that we have today with us. We already took one game from Arun Song. Golden Castle is we had few games. We have checked Narendra's game also. Chennai Chess Club. We have checked Ganesh's game. We have GST Guna, and then we have let's try to pick up game by GST Guna. So GST Guna is playing against Play Good Moves. So both are having a good rating out there, 1900 and 2000 ratings. So let's check what happened in the opening. E4 D6. It could be a perk defense or it can be converted into a modern defense later on. So knight F6, pawn to C3, pawn to G6, pawn to H3. That's a prophylactic move, probably trying to avoid bishop G4. Knight F3, castles, bishop to D3, and then we have pawn to C6, castles, and knight to D7. Rook E1, pawn to E5, knight to E7, knight to E2, rook to E8, knight to G3. So this maneuver of knight actually is not much effective against this structure of H7, G6, and F7 because the knight scope is limited out there. It cannot go to G5, F5, or H5 because of the pawn on G6. So this has to be avoided probably. This is not the best plan right now for white. Okay, so we have queen b6, pawn to c3, pawn takes, and knight to f8. We have pawn to b3, knight to e6, bishop to b2, and pawn to a5, pawn to e5. Knight can go to d5 here. Okay, black won the game, but let's go back few moves. Yeah, so this was the position. Yeah, knight e6 and bishop b2, pawn to a5, pawn to e5, pawn takes, and pawn to a4, knight to c4, queen to c7, and pawn takes a4, knight to d5, knight to e4, knight takes d5, knight to d6. A very, very, very superb and tactical position. I like these positions wherein there are a lot of my look at the minor pieces sitting over here. Everyone is trying to play some part. So everyone, it's like a huge battle going on, and the players from both the sides are trying to be at their best, and it's a very complicated position. So we have knight d6 here, rook to f8, rook went back, and but what else we have played here? We could have played knight f3 check. Sorry, this knight can go to f3, and then we can capture the bishop. But losing the rook is not the best idea here. So first we can probably capture the knight here. If rook takes, then we can go for f3 check, queen f3, and bishop takes b2. But then this queen will be active on this f7 square. D6 is also hanging, so rook takes e4 will be answered by knight takes e4. But an interesting position, guys, and probably this is something that we can use engines to evaluate and understand the tactics behind this position. So we have rook to f8, then we have rook to b1, then we have pawn to f5, bishop to c4, and everything is being pinned now. So pawn takes e4 and knight takes e4, and that's a free piece for. Why did white give away this f5 knight? That's the question. Yeah, so d6, e5, e4, and d6 actually both are supporting each other. So just moving away the bishop is not going. Now we have just moving away the knight is not going to help much out there. So the forced move there was to just play bishop to c4 and pawn takes e4, knight takes e4, knight to f5, bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, queen takes d5, king to h8, and now bishop takes g7, queen takes g7, and knight to g5, queen f6, knight f3 back. So here again this knight move was wasted probably. Instead of knight move, you or white could have played rook to probably b6. If I'm not miscalculating, rook b6 could have not the winning move, but could it could help in creating some kind of tactics like knight f6 out there, or even rook f6. Knight f6 is not, it's playable, but uh, I'm just thinking about this knight f6, rook f6, rook f6, queen f6, and rook to e8 check. That would be interesting. But anyways, ng5 was played here. Ng5, queen to f6, and then we have knight to f3, rook to a4, rook to e2, rook to d8, queen to b3, rook comes back to a6 and rook to e1. Then we have king to g7, rook to e8, rook takes, and bishop e6. We have queen takes b7 check, and the rook is now not gone. Bishop can interpose, and queen can support the rook now. So queen takes rook, and now we have queen takes queen. That's, I think, the blunder that white made under time pressure, because you can see the time is very less here with white, or at least on the clock that we can see after the game was ended. And white was under presumption that this rook is hanging, and hence he just captured the rook and queen takes queen, and it was like a blunder move. So this reminds me again of the Kasparov moment out there. If you all guys know what I mean by Kasparov moment, or if you don't know what it means, this is what it means. Yes, the Kasparov versus Anand, and the blunder variation, not the variation, but the blunder expression by Kasparov was amazing. The same thing happened over here, guys. So it was just this blunder which queen takes queen and queen takes e6 was played here. Okay, so our nice game coming to an end. Let's go back to tournament. Okay, let's try to find out the next game. Next game can be between. Let's try to play one game actually. Okay, let's try to play a game from Khelo India. I'm just waiting for the um, game to get assigned. But meanwhile, we have Ganches from Chennai Chess Club today leading with 20 points. Then we have Uchiha Madara from Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy on 19 points. Then we have Prathamesh Sabudde on from BCC, Arun Sam from Abiches Club. Then we have Andre from Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy, SRB from BCC, Isda Fish from Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy, Terminator from Prayagraj Future, and we have got a game against Atharva Cracker. Let's try to play this game in the Berserk mode, guys. So Berserk mode is where you sacrifice half of your time and then you just try to play your aggressive attacking game, try to get some quick points for you and win quickly. So here I'm just trying to play as attacking as I can. This is not an attacking game, but just a fianchetto which I like to do and create some chances in this diagonal. And it started opening up, and I got this weakness on the c6 square now. So I'll just try to put some pressure there. Knight b5, trying to attack the c7 square now, and I think I am able to attack this pawn. Let's try to attack this pawn. I might end up losing an exchange, but I think that should be Can we play knight takes e6? Can we play knight takes d5? Can we play knight to e6? No, nothing is available right now. So we are going to lose the exchange there. Probably g5 is going to hurt me more. Let's try to play h4 first so that this g5 doesn't kick away the bishop and I end up losing a piece out there. So 46 seconds with me and I have to play very fast now. Bishop to d6 has been played. So knight d5 is available. Let's get the knight out of this dangerous position from c7. And now if bishop takes f4, then we have knight takes f4 and our knight is safe and we have got a couple of pawns. So that should be a plus for us. So knight is come back. We have just saved our knight. Let's try to play e3. Just make this pawn safe. And now probably queen can go to the b3 square, try to attack this b6 square. I also saw a hi from Sahil, but I could not reply at that time because it was a comment before the live broadcast started. And knight d5, trying to just get onto the game, but I would just like to put the knight back and then put it back onto the e5 square, either this or this knight. I think this knight is better because then there are some tactics in this b file, sorry, the b7 square, and we have this rook takes c8 also. Then if bishop takes c8, yeah. So finally the queen moves, and now I think we can play this move, knight to e5. We also have this nice e4 little move to kick this knight away, but this pawn on e4 would be hanging. Then let's try to play e4. I am not able to find any good moves right now. D4 would be hanging as well. We can play knight takes f7 also. Let's try to play knight takes f7. Just I'm trying to play very fast here because this rook takes f7 and then we have this e5 move attacking this queen and this knight and this bishop attacking the b7. It would be interesting. What would be black's reply here? I just have 20 seconds left with me. On to e5. I think queen d7 will be played now. Oh, rook takes c1. I have pawn takes d6 available. Rook takes rook, king takes rook, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, and then knight would move. And then I have this knight e5. Knight will now come to d5. Then probably I can play this knight f4 move. No, knight e5 should be better move. It will support the d7 square. Now then I have to just go back to the this support the c6 side to support this d7 and d8 queens. Meanwhile, this knight is locked to for supporting. Oh, I have this knight g6 move. Knight takes rook. Yeah, so black resigned. A very nice game, guys. Let's go back to tournament and try to play another game there. Okay, I got a game against Ganesh. Okay, let's try to play again in the Berserk mode. Let's try to play d5, a Scandinavian game, and then try to play knight f6. Last 6 7 minutes are remaining, so you have to play these moves very quickly. Pawn c6, knight c6, and now pawn e5 would be a good move if allowed. Yeah, pawn e5 is allowed. I have the center now. I have to make sure that I get the attack very quickly. So let's try to play bishop to c5 here. I'm just closing out the extra windows. And now bishop can go to g4. Next move can be knight to d4. Try to attack this knight again. So this is interesting, guys, and it's interesting because black has gambited here. Black has played Scandinavian defense, and he has given away the c6 pawn for free. Let's try to put more pressure on this knight on f3. I know this knight d5 is also coming very soon, but I think we are the ones who will be hitting the attack first. And we have bishop e7 option available that white doesn't have with him. So if knight d5, I can just pull my bishop back to e7, just try to get it this knight unpinned. But white does not have that option of getting the, oh, okay, I think that's a blunder. Bishop takes f3, and I can play knight takes f3, and the queen can be captured now. So simple combination for a win here. I think white should resign probably, and we can just take to the next game. Okay, we have got a comment from Firebolt to analyze his game. Okay, we have to quickly go back and analyze his game. I wish this game gets over soon. Let's try to play d4. e4, sorry, rook e8 will be played, rook e1 will be played. We can castle out. So knight takes e4 can be played now. I think bishop takes f6 will be played. Okay, then let's just capture. We can just capture this pawn on f2. Now the rook is hanging, and rook f1 is expected probably. No, so let's try to push the pawn now. Let's try to get the pawn rolling as quickly as possible. 4 minutes and 12 seconds, but knight to d e4. So that would probably bishop takes queen, and then nope. So let's put the king on h8 now. Let's try to support the pawn as well as get rid of this annoying pin. Now we have this knight g4 available, and knight takes h2, or even knight e3 available for us. This pin was actually something which was holding me back for a long time, but last 36 seconds I have to be very quick now. Of course, I am queen up, but the game has to be finished. It doesn't matter if you have queen up or if you are rook up. You must be in position to finish up the game as quickly as possible. And then we have this knight g4, pawn push, and we have pawn to h6. Just try to get this bishop back onto the d2 square. Oh, it goes to the. Let's try to attack both the rooks. Okay, let us just capture with the rook. Rook takes f2 will be played now. Rook takes queen, and now queen. Okay, this h2 is not hanging. Sorry, I thought that h2 is hanging. Hence, I played queen c7 attacking the bishop and the pawn, but that's not working right now. So let's try to play b5 now, and just try to create some play out there. And that was not the good move, the b5 move. Yeah, bishop will be moved now probably. Let's play f6 after that, or bishop will be supported with the pawn. Okay, I think that's okay. Bishop moves, and let's try to play queen to a5, pawn to b3, queen takes pawn, queen a1, queen c1 check, queen g1 check. It's not a check. And give this check. Oh, this rook was hanging. I missed a check. And then this check. It's not a check. Okay. Ah, slip of my queen. Check. I have to quickly mate this king now. Uh-oh, I lost on time, but that's fine. Let's try to go back and quickly check Firebolt's game. if he's still playing or one of his game. Firebolt 2009, and he is playing against Advait. Okay, so this is the current position, guys. Otherwise, let's check what happened in the opening. E4, E6, a French defense was played. F4, interesting idea there. So D5, pawn to E5, pawn to C5, pawn to C3, knight to C6, knight to F3, knight to E7, pawn to D4, pawn takes, and knight to G6, bishop to B5. This is not actually the good move. Bishop D3 is better, or bishop D3 or bishop E2 is better. Bishop B5, pawn E6, bishop C6, not to give away this good bishop. This bishop was a good bishop, light square bishop. Look at this diagonal. Its place is to be in this diagonal actually. But bishop to b4, knight bishop to d2, bishop takes, queen takes, and castles. Then we have knight to g5, pawn to h6, knight to f3, and pawn to a5. It was a great draw, I think so. Yeah, but let's check what happened in the game. So this exchange is not good. So bishop b4 check, and then we have bishop takes, queen takes, and castles. Knight to g5, pawn to h6, bishop the knight goes back to f3, and then we have pawn to a5, knight to c3, bishop a6, rook to d1, knight to h4. Knight is attacking the knight. Knight takes h4, queen takes h4, and we have knight to h a4. So rook to b8, knight to c5, and bishop goes back. So this bishop is now kind of a bad bishop. It should have been developed somewhere very quickly, but now I think black has ran out of time. Now is the time. It's actually just bishop e6 and try to capture it. I think draw was agreed here as the tournament is over. So Firebolt, we were not able to analyze your complete game. This is the final ranking for today, guys. BCC team has won today's 70th Khelo Chess India team battle with 159 points, and then we have Prayagraj Future GM's Chess Club on 124, beat Mindano Chess Prodigy on 114, Gujarat Lions on 100, Chess Blasters on 93, Chennai Chess Club on 85, Golden Castle Chess Club on 61, and Khelo Chess India on 52, Abhi Chess Club on 49. So that's all, guys, from today's live broadcast. I hope this was a nice tournament. I can see a comment from Sahil, but yes, Sahil, thanks. It was a very nice tournament. I hope you enjoyed playing this tournament, and I hope you will come back tomorrow as well to play the tournament. Please make sure you share with your friends as much as possible. There is a WhatsApp link given in the description box below, which you can click and join the WhatsApp group. You will get updates about all the tournaments that are happening on Leeches from Khelo Chess India. So that's all, guys, and we have a comment from Ganesh Chess. Thanks, Khelo Chess India, doing Countries League, and this one is difficult, doing streaming for both. Nice, keep it up. Thank you, Ganesh Chess. This streaming for back to back is difficult, I know that, but I have to manage it. That's what keeps me motivated for all you guys out there. It keeps me happy, and also it makes me happy to analyze your games. It might help someone to actually improve their game. So that's why I come back again and again, no matter how tired I am, or no matter what's the time and what are the challenges. I try to come back, try to get the internet working in India. I have some problems with my internet, not just in India but at my place. So just try to get it up working for you all you guys, and just try to do the best commentary that I can. So that's all from Kilochess India's 70th team battle, and we will meet tomorrow again at 9:30 p.m. IST. Until then, bye bye, take care, and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and like the video as well. Bye bye and good night. Yes, Sahil, bye bye. Thanks to you. Bye. Bye to all the viewers out there.